Yeah, hello. Sorry, as Mark said, I was rapidly asked to quickly change my presentation, so I hadn't had my pre-talk whiskey, so I'm a bit shaky. Yeah, so I'm Ed De Lange, or Iederich De Lange. I'm Vice Chair of INX at the moment. For those who don't know, INX is South Africa's, well, the first IXP in South Africa was Jinx. We've got three IXPs in Cape Town and Durban and Joburg now. And I think we're the oldest and, well, Michelle likes to say the most stable IXP in Africa. So one of our projects to sort of get going this year was we tried to transition from just generating our filters to, well, to having automatically generated filters. We have, from the go when we had BGP root servers, we've always filtered because it's key. And it's always been a fairly manual, semi-automated, but mostly manual process. And we've done AS path filtering for larger peers who are a bit fussy. So for us to get this process going, it would be a new peer would connect to us. We'd get the root collector session up first. Have a look at what they're sending us. Is this what we expect to see from them and not a whole routing table or some of their other peers' traffic or peers' routes? Compare it, and then we sort of manually create a subset of routes, well, based on what we think to expect and sort of confirm with the peer this is what we're supposed to get. Yeah, this works well, but it's a lot of work. It means if someone updates things, the problem, yeah, this is really a slow process. That means it takes days sometimes to get a peer up properly. Peers love it because we make their lives very, very easy. And yeah, they can be a little bit lazy, and we're very accommodating to mistakes in, for example, IRR. This is a large amount of extra work for us in as the IX admin team. And let's be honest, most network engineers are inherently lazy people. So the less work we can do, the happier everyone would be, really. And well, we hate the extra work. So yeah, but it's good for the peers. It makes their lives easy, and we fix problems that affect everyone in the greater scheme of things. It creates a lot of these annoying emails that most people seem to ignore. I know many peers in Durban just black hole these mails that come through on every mailing list for every exchange that you're on. So sometimes you get it 4 or 5 times. And it's, well, I don't know who actually can keep root filters updated based on this, but it's, you have, I don't know, you miss 3 or 4 of them and suddenly you've like missed a subset of customers there. I mean, like when a fairly large peer said that they were advertising Apple, most people didn't even notice that. Well, they wouldn't have updated their filters had they been filtering. IRR is old. It's been around since day dot almost, but it's not well understood. So many of our peers don't use it to filter. I'm based in Durban, which is the smaller cousin of South Africa's IXPs. And I think of everyone that I polled there were maybe 2 or 3 guys that actually actively filtered. So it's not well, it's just not in use well enough yet. So one of our projects as the KZN Nog is we did training and keep on doing training to try and get people to start using it a bit more. And sort of like the nice little bonus on the side that we did was we did some RPKI training, and we're trying to get people to use validators. But yeah, it's a process. So when we implemented hard IRR filtering, we suddenly lost 14,000 prefixes, which is a substantial chunk. Yeah, that is 14,000, yes. And well, as it's for reference, this is from Johannesburg at Jinx. And 14,000 prefixes is as I said, big chunk, and it's well, I know there's quite a few ISPs that went missing in that, but because we run both, we haven't actually really affected anyone yet, but it gives us a a working point to go from. Because, well, before this, we didn't really have any stat to see how many prefixes are losing. I think Hurricane Electric makes a reasonable chunk of that, but there's still a lot of locals in there. So I just did a little graph there to give you an idea of how this practically looks. So raw prefixes we receive from everyone is, I didn't actually put the number in there, but it's about, I think it was about 63 or 64,000 prefixes. So from that to our handcrafted filters, it became down to about 60,000. And then if we go hard filtering based on your IRRs, well, kind of hard filtering on your IRR, we came down to 46,000. So there's still a lot of work to be done in that region. So yeah, it's going to be a slow and long process, but we're getting there, and we see, I want to say, almost daily changes in people getting that updated. So the one process for us to get this fixed has been sending lots of emails out to people saying, hey, we're seeing these routes being filtered. Can we please get your IRR records updated? And people are slowly doing it. Some people are ignoring us, but I think the majority of people are responding quite friendly to it and, well, appreciate the help. So as I said, we love extra prefixes, but being secure is a lot more important because, well, hey, you don't want your stuff accidentally going out the wrong place. Or as in Durban, we had a couple of weeks ago where one ISP decided to reroute all of Netflix via him. And later, well, yeah, it's still an interesting problem. But we're not completely totalitarians. As I said, we sort of hard filter. We do allow more specifics on IPv4 only. So yeah, once the community tells us we can swap forward to being completely hard filtered based on IRR records, we will get there, but the community will decide because, well, they ultimately tell us what we have to do. We've got a package that we use called IXP Manager that sort of helps us run the exchange, and it gives us useful details, and it generates our, well, half of our root server configs. So we found a little bug in there that we've fixed, and it gives us information that looks a bit like this. So every peer that connects currently, and we can only pull this for one root server because of a bit of a software limitation, we can see how many prefixes are filtered. As you can see, well, there's a couple of people with IPv6 issues, some big people with lots of interesting filtering, but it's that graph is slowly reducing. As I said, we make a point of contacting everyone on that list. I think this is about a quarter of the ones when we started. I'm going to say at least one page of these have now fallen off since people have started updating. So yeah, so this is the tool we use, and we're slowly making it available to our peers as well. So peers can get a display like this to see what prefixes they are receiving, and what prefixes they're sending and what we're receiving and accepting. And then we also have a list of what prefixes are being bounced. Usually it is people who do the, well, where we filter more specifics. This interface itself only tells us, well, the interface specifically tells us what matches to the IRR record, so it does not accommodate for the more specifics, even though it gets accepted. So I don't know if anyone's got good enough eyes to see the prefixes and do the quick math, but those prefixes there are actually, well, they fall into some of the other categories. However, it's just the more specific, so they really should be added into the IRR record. So what's next? RPKI, it would be nice to have, but we're not quite there yet. So we pulled some stats to see what routers we've got at the various exchanges. And it was, well, quite interesting to me. Obviously, our biggest router set is still Cisco. with just over 2/3, I think, of the entire exchange. As I said, this is across all three exchanges. And then next up, which was a real surprise to me, was MikroTik. I think it might be a bit different at NAP perhaps, but for us, MikroTik was the second biggest by a very small margin. And then after that, Unipers, who were just by 1 or 2 routers behind MikroTik. And then there's some other oddities around, some software routers, and then a TP-Link router, which we did not quite expect. But yeah, so as far as I know, MikroTik, Ubiquiti, EdgeCore, Fortinet, Huawei, and the TP-Links do not support RPKI yet. So we need to all push our vendors if you use any of those, to actually start supporting RPKI. I mean, route filtering to do on the MikroTik is not that difficult. We did a presentation at our local NOG a couple of months ago about how you can automate that process of route filters, but the RPKI stuff is quite a way away still, and probably in this fabled Router OS version 7 to come, if it ever comes, because I think they've been promising that since like 2012. But if people make enough pressure on the various providers, especially MikroTik, because they're an important one, I think, we'll hopefully get there in the not too far future. Other things still to come, as I said, we'll eventually settle on doing only the automated filtering, which basically on our system generates at 3 a.m. every morning. So if you add a prefix to your IRR within a day, our route filters should automatically update. We have to do more training on IRRs because, as we heard earlier, there's been some people complaining about Afrinex IRR system not being the most user-friendly. It's a pain that we have to do training on something that should be extremely simple, but I think if everyone also sent them an email saying, we want this to be a priority rather than just it's on the becoming line, it would be good, because there's, in my mind, no reason they can't replicate their IRR system to work like the RPKI system, which is very, very user-friendly. So if you have issues with the IRR database or you found it more difficult than it should be, pop them a mail and hopefully we get some push for that. As I said, the RPKI integration, but only after training. Yet again, the Durban NOG, we run training quite often. We're trying to do little RPKI signing parties. And every time we sort of realize people have some problems and we try and get past it. But the more people use it, the more we will hopefully get over these problems and eventually we can all implement it. I have a vague goal of making Durban the first place where all the local operators are RPKI signed in South Africa. So hopefully that'll, if I'm lucky, we'll get that right. And yeah, lastly, we're happy to work with anyone who needs help or wants to promote getting the IRR records right. So yeah, I think I sped through some stuff there, but I thought I had one more slide. Any questions?
Thank you for the presentation. My name is Mukam. I'm the guy who does the training at Afrinic. So with respect to the IRR, we do have some IRR content that we developed with Hanson, but the problem is we just don't get the right kind of people to come to the workshop. Here's something that I can guarantee that we can do. If you can get me 25 people who are interested, we could start by doing a webinar. Okay. And then we can make it happen and scale it to a workshop next year.
So from my side, I think having the training is not the problem. I mean, we do our own training in Durban quite often. I think we've done 2 sessions or sort of 1.5 sessions of training that we put together. I honestly believe this is not something that needs to have training. This should be something that's so simple that we can, it should be self-explanatory. Any system that needs a manual has a bit of a user interface problem in my mind. So I'm saying, let's make the user interface as simple as your RPKI interface, which after getting your relevant documents submitted is I think, the best thing I've seen come out of Afrinic, and I really, really like it. It's simple, it's brilliant, and it just works. So that's more where I'm going to. It shouldn't need training. Basic training, yes, like how you do this, not here's a manual that's a couple of pages thick. Thank you. Any other questions? No? Cool. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And again,